After the massacre in Las Vegas last week, Democrats are calling for action on gun control. And this time, some Republicans are open to one piece of legislation. Talking Points contributor Byron Tollefson has more.
Republicans have fought against gun legislation for decades. After the Newtown shooting in 2012, the GOP halted expanding background checks. Just last year, they blocked a bill that would have stopped gun sales to people on watch lists. But the Las Vegas massacre last week may change things. Republicans say they're open to a ban on bump stocks, which the shooter used to increase his weapon's rate of fire. Now, a semi-automatic gun makes a shooter pull the trigger constantly, but with bump stocks, the gun does that automatically. This essentially turns regular rifles into automatic weapons, which have been banned in the U.S. since 1934. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan says he's open to a ban, but the National Rifle Association is a key factor here. The organization poured over $50 million into the 2016 election, and its leader Wayne LaPierre said yesterday he's against an outright ban on bump stocks. A Republican congressman from Florida, Carlos Curbelo, is drafting the bill, and he talked about why it's important yesterday.
For decades, compromise between Republicans and Democrats on this issue has been elusive. We have gotten absolutely nothing. This might be a small, but I think a very important step towards moving to a more rational conversation about sensible gun policy in this country.
We're now joined by Byron and Talking Points contributor Gabrielle Caracciolo to continue the conversation on gun control. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Now, we've heard Republicans and the NRA and Democrats all open to banning bump stocks. Is there anything more that's looking like they might be getting done in the legislative agenda?
Well, what we're looking at right now is, like you said, a lot of Republicans are saying they're open to some sort of gun control legislation. We'll have some back and forth between the House and the Senate to see what actually would go into one of these bills. One major player is House Majority Whip Steve Scalise has said that he's not open, and he thinks that the current gun control laws need to be more strictly enforced before we start looking at new laws. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays a role in the House's voting.
Yeah, it's a very particular piece of legislation. The bump stocks, it's something somewhat minute, but it has a chance of getting passed. Now, like I said, the National Rifle Association is a big player in this situation because they've already come out and said, we're not going to fully get rid of this, but we might regulate it. So I think it has much more chance of getting passed than something like an assault weapons ban or background checks.
Now, if the legislative agenda does go through and something were to pass, it would inevitably face legal challenges that would be going all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, would some sort of regulation in this sense hold up in a legally challenged way?
I don't think it would be able to hold up in the Supreme Court. The Second Amendment is open to such broad interpretations that with the current Supreme Court, Kennedy might be a swing in some other cases, but when it comes to the Second Amendment, I don't think he's going left.
Yeah, Neil Gorsuch now being part of the Supreme Court is huge, especially in the situation, because you can have the Supreme Court saying, look, it's a violation of Second Amendment, then you shut it down, even after all that potential legislative work. So I think that if Kennedy swings with the conservatives there, this probably won't stay if anything gets passed.
And Byron, like you said, I mean, it's not likely that like major gun legislation like a ban on assault weapons would get through Congress. But my question is, what is the Republican solution? Because it seems that Republicans are, they're pushing back against gun control, but I'm not seeing a real solution as to how you deal with these mass shootings. I mean, I saw Bill O'Reilly wrote in his blog saying that these mass shootings are the price of freedom. I mean, is that what we accept as a country, or are there other solutions out there besides just gun control?
Well, different Republicans are saying different things. Some people are saying you need to look at things like poverty, mental illness, and overall crime rates in order to improve gun control and effectively save lives.
Yeah, a lot of the Republican view is that the way to fix this is to get more guns. We saw with the Newtown shooting in 2012, a lot of the NRA's solution was to arm teachers. And I think we're a long ways away from getting legitimate gun control legislation. However, this bump stocks thing is an encouraging step. We'll just see if the Congress stays Republican tilted in 2018, and maybe some legislation will get passed after that.
All right, Byron and Gabrielle, thank you very much.